Welcome to Don't Panic Geocacher, a channel devoted to helping you unlock the mystery of mystery geocaches. My name is Arjen and I go by Waterfan5 on the geocaching.com website. This episode is part 4 of a series of 10 and is called Look for Hints. The purpose of the series of 10 is to teach you a structural approach on how to solve mystery caches and even help you solve some of the more complicated geocaches out there. In this episode, I will go into how to find hints, show you a couple of tools that will make it easier to find hints, and will also solve a couple of puzzles and mystery caches using the hints they provided. So the first one part is about looking for the hints themselves. As you know, cache pages can have a hint. This hint doesn't only cover the height, but for many puzzle and mystery caches, they may also give you a hint on how the puzzle can be solved. Don't be afraid to look at it. It's not cheating. Often, and knowing from my own experience and having talked to other cache owners that have made puzzle caches, the hint is there to kind of like put you in the right direction to solve it. It didn't belong on the page itself, but gave you a push in the right direction. So feel free to look at those as they're often useful into solving the puzzle itself. The second part is to look at the cache page and look at the comments that were made by the cache owner. During the time that the puzzle was out, the cache owner may have felt that there was unknown complications in the puzzle. They may have gotten feedback on the puzzle and they may have put comments on the page in like a write note or a maintenance log to say what they have done with the puzzle or maybe give away some clues. Again, they're provided by the cache owner, they're intended there for you to be read, so look for them. Go scroll to the logs and see what the cache owner has um, placed there that may help you. There might also be some updates there, that maybe there might be some slight variations that have been created over time. Maybe the cache got slightly moved, and so it's well worth reading those and making sure you have the latest information that could be useful in solving it. And of course, read carefully every line and look at every picture. And that includes in the gallery. The, every sentence that is written may contain an extra hint. Every picture that is provided may contain a hint. So it's always useful to look at the very detail, read it many times, zoom in on pictures and making sure you notice tiny details. Because the tiny details may become important in solving the puzzle and tiny details may have been provided to give you hints. If you like to read the logs, you can often read the logs as well and see what other people have written. I found many times that there is accidentally giving away hints or maybe excluded certain approaches. If you don't like doing that, of course, you can always skip doing that. But certainly I've seen people utilize that to solve a puzzle if you really want to solve it. It is not bad to understand what other people have done because it will also help you getting better at solving puzzles, and over time you will see things and learn things, and this is one of the ways that you learn by seeing information that other people have provided. The final part is don't forget about the title. Many times when you read the cache page and you're stuck, you may have forgotten actually the name. Look at the title again, see if maybe there is something in there that may help you solve it. So it's worthwhile going back to the title and reading it even after you've looked for the puzzle for a while and see, is there anything in there that will help me get further. And then of course the page may contain actual hints. First one always to do is to look at the source code, the HTML text, and I will show you that in one of the puzzles later on how you can do that. I've also shown it in other episodes. Always worthwhile, but it's a good place for a cache owner to give a more advanced hint or something else. So make sure to look at the source code, even if you think you know what to do. There might be something in there that's crucial to solving the puzzle. Another trick that is commonly used is that every sentence may actually give you a hint itself. For example, by using the first letters of each sentence or the last letters of each sentence. We've seen many times that there is slight hints like that given. You can also look for special words that are maybe highlighted or maybe written in cursive. And then the called what I call trigger words or hint words. So I name some of them here, like count, base, reverse, backwards, Samuel, referring to Samuel Morse, and some other ones listed here. This is just a subset of words, but those words may have been placed in the text to put you in the right direction. They may not be explicitly saying you have to count, but for example, it may say, don't count on me giving you a hint. Still using the word count, maybe there's counting involved into the solution. Or you cannot base the difficulty just on the puzzle. The word base here may refer that it is like a base conversion that we have to do with numbers, like binary or hexadecimal or something related to that. So it's always good to see if any of those words are in there. And so these are just some of the words, but therefore it's important to read carefully and make sure you detect those words. They may have been placed in there accidentally and not be a hint, but in a lot of cases there may be hints like that in the puzzle itself. Okay, let's take a look at some tools that might help you find these things. Let's take a look at two tools that may help you find hints in cache pages, but may also help you actually solve actual puzzles. So the first one is a highlighter tool, part of the Now Listen to Me set. And the highlighter tool helps you highlight words within sentence. It has two inputs. One is a list of words, and the second one is the text that you analyze. So you can resize both if you need more space, so that's not an issue. And you just paste the text in here that you would like to analyze. And now highlight will just highlight the words that you may want to find in the text. So it just helps you find the text. And the default words in there are kind of like hints of what the puzzle would be. Already mentioned count and base, but all of these may indicate that there's something going on. So phone might be something phone look in the puzzle. Flag might be that it is semaphore flags. Samuel might be that it's Morse code. Resist might be that it's resistors. All of these may be relevant, but may not be relevant at all, right? I mean, you don't know, it might be an accidental hint. And you see here within the text, that's the text that's here, it's simply copied over here, then with the words highlighted. You can add something like, for example, options. You can add your own words or replace your own words with your own, or whatever language you're using it, or just that you feel other words are important. May even have just a standard list of words that you would like to analyze that you feel are a better set of hints. And then you press highlight, and now you see that options is highlighted as well. Now it can also be used to solve puzzles. You see here as an example, it has all the numbers in here, but you see none of words highlighted are numbers. Now let's remove the non-alphanumeric characters, so this only leaves letters and numbers from the text, and now do highlight again. So now basically it removes all the spaces and all the dots and all the things like that. And suddenly we see now that words are highlighted, 3, 7, 2, and 0. We didn't see those originally, but they are actually there. And because those are actually the combination of two words, options, even, 7, and worth re-evaluating, and blaze, rock. And so those are actually numbers, and now it highlighted it, but by removing the non-alphanumeric characters, it actually would find those words, and that might actually be the coordinates itself, right? That you have to find these hidden words within the text. It might be something else, that you have to find hidden colors or something. The puzzle will hopefully give you a hint of what you need to do, but numbers is quite often used in puzzles of this style, and so this will help you do that and make sure you don't miss any by highlighting them for you, making your life slightly easier. So that's one thing, so it can help you find specific words, making sure you don't miss it. That might be a hint, or it can actually find hidden words by combining text. Second tool, text analyzer, same website, Now Listen to Me. What this does is it analyzes a specific piece of text. So if I just press analyze, it says there's 2 lines here because it will count the new lines. And it will then tell you information like, well, does the letter start with? So this is sentence 1, is the, pause is so TC That's what it starts with. It, however, also has a split option, and that means that every dot, period, exclamation mark, stuff like that will be used to split new lines. So let's click that, and we'll see it adjusted the text, and now suddenly we have more. And now if we press analyze, you will see that we now has 14 lines. Well, 14 lines we like because that could be a coordinate, especially given that we see a coordinate here that actually contains 14 numbers. And it does the same thing, right? So it analyzes the first letters of each line and the last letters of each line. And now actually this looks like English to me. Words starting C. And we can see that here, WORDSSTA. So yep, that was probably a hint. Words starting C. Now this tool gives a lot of information about each sentence. It gives the number of words per line, the letters per line, how many times the letter A appears, B appears, etc, etc. So it saves you a lot of manual counting. It basically does it for you. Also tells you the index, where does the A first appear, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it ignores spaces and stuff like that. And so at letter number 4 is where the A starts. Now, if you have to count spaces, of course, the tool won't do it, right? So, but it assumes here that spaces are not included. And the same for all the letters in the alphabet. It will also tell you the last one, last letter, much harder to find. But yeah, the tool will do this for you. Words starting with an A, so it counts 2 here. So above and R are the words starting with an A. Words ending with an A. I don't even want to think about it. The first one doesn't have any. The second one apparently does. It's the word A itself. Words containing A. Well, now you really have to be careful counting. Above, coordinates, R, and cache. So that's 4. So yep, 4. And so on for all the letters in the alphabet. First word starting with the A. Second word apparently is the first word starting with the A. Above. Yep. Last word starting with the A. Okay, sorry. First word containing A. It also happens to be this next one. But in the next one, it would be different, right? Containing is the second, but the first word starting with an A is probably this one. Calculated that correctly. And so on. It will do all kinds of things what you want to do, right? So the last thing to take a look at is the keyword part. And the keyword part, you can actually enter your own keyword here. By default, it just uses the alphabet. And it kind of works like this, that for the first line, it will use the first letter. For the second line, it will use the second letter. For the third line, it will use the third letter. So basically, it says the first letter by keyword. So the A is at the first position. For the next line, it will look for the B. For the next line, it will look at the C, and so on. So it will just look at to see where it's being used, and it will basically do a count of them initially. So it says, well, there's 4 A's in here, 0 B's, 1 C. First occurrence at position 4, at position 0, at position 6, right? The C here, right here. Last occurrence, word counting by keywords. So that is the word that contains it. First doing the counting the number of words that have A, counting the number of words that have a B, in the next counting the number of words that have a C. And then of course by index the same, starting, ending, and containing. But of course alphabet is just a default. We can also use the word geocaching, and now basically it becomes, well, can count the number of G's, count the number of E's in the second, count the number of O's in the third. So if you click that, it will basically do that for you. It might, for example, be that there is a title given that happens to be 14 characters, and so you have to use those. It might be less characters, because if it's counting, then there might easily be double digits in there, and so you don't need 14 letters to still get to a 14-digit alphabet or a coordinate here, because there might be double digits used in here. So it's just a tool that saves you a lot of manual counting and does a lot of like standard stuff for you. So those are 2 tools that can help you find not only hints, but actually solve puzzles. Now let's take a look at a puzzle and see how hints can help us. We're going to look at a puzzle. The puzzle is Geoheist, the getaway car, part of a series of 9 mentioned in some of my other videos. This one is 2.5 star, so nothing complicated, we hope. And as all, they start kind of with an introduction text that is not the actual puzzle. Could be, but in this case, since I made it, it's not the actual puzzle. The actual puzzle starts right here. It says, find this map in the suitcase. It has no route on it, but maybe it can still help me. Rather have known the hideout, but a route will do. Seems like they drove here, so maybe I can find the car drove. Map has me going round and round in circles. Okay, let's look at the checker. What is it that we need? Keyword required. That's a good thing to know. We're not looking for coordinates, we're actually looking for a keyword here. So of course the keyword could be any length, could be multiple words, but that's good to know. So we're looking for an actual puzzle. It's not a field puzzle. It's the getaway car, so that's what we're looking for. And we have this text and this image. As I mentioned, looking for hints, right? There's no cache owner logs here. If we view all the logs, we can kind of like, in this case, see here all the logs and nothing there from the cache owner. So that doesn't going to help us. Is there a hint? No, no hint. So nothing to see there related to hint. Let's see if there's any underwater text. So right click, view page source, and search for the text long description. And see if there's anything hidden in here that I couldn't see before, like with a white color or maybe a comment that's in there. But it doesn't look like there's anything like that in there. So we've ruled that out. And this is always good to do, right? Because often cache owners may give hints that way. They may give hints in their own log because ever since they posted it, they feel like they need to reveal more. Maybe it was more difficult than they intended. We'll have to start looking closely at this picture and this text, so we have to read this. But first, let's put it over some of the tools that I just mentioned. So I'll take this text and see if I put it in here, if it highlights anything. And again, this is just with the default set of keywords. You can add other keywords to this. Map, well, there's a map on the page. That's clearly route, okay. Maybe we'll have to do something with a route. Seems a bit hard for a 2.5 that we have to do something like that, but if it's obvious, maybe there's a route we have to follow, and then, well, I don't know. It also mentions word round, maybe that should be a keyword as well, and circle, two things that are circular seem to be important. Maybe car is a keyword. Well, I need to get the getaway car, so yeah, car is important. Let's put the text again and put it in our other tool. So Control A to select it all, Control V to paste in the text, and analyze. Well, again, only one line, right? But I see these dots, so let's use the split function. Now it splits it in 5 lines. Let's analyze it again. I mean, before it was one line, starts with an F, ends with an S, 55 words. Not really a good combination. But let's analyze it again. In 5 text, number of lines, first letters of each line says the word first. That can't be coincidence, right? So we have to do something with the word first. I don't know. Since we're looking for a keyword, I'm guessing first letters of something. We had the word route, first letters of a route. That might be onto something, right? So we have this map. As I mentioned, look careful. That's also not only for puzzles, but also for the hint, the title, GOS getaway car. Again, it kind of seems to suggest a route that we have to follow some kind of route. But and of course, we have to look in the gallery. Well, 0 pictures in the gallery, so that doesn't really going to help us. So I'm going to open the picture in another window so I can zoom in a little bit more. And this is the puzzle. Well, great. What do I do with this, right? I see a couple of words in here that don't look like original map. Maybe I know where this is, but this looks like it's photoshopped, right? It doesn't look like it's actually a street map. It says first. Is there a first street on here? I don't see one. I see 2 first. Oh, first street. That's right. Actually, right here. Maybe that's important. I don't see any clear way to make a route out of this. It also mentions the word circle. circle might be useful, because I actually see a circle here right on the map. And also at round and round. Round and round circle. Well, we have first, right? So how about we take the first letters of these? Don't know where to start, so I'll start north. O-Y-O-T-A-T. That doesn't look too good. Oyota. Still doesn't look great, so maybe I'm still missing something. Don't see a first street, but yeah, let's write those letters down, right? I don't have a notepad open here, so O-T-A-T. It actually doesn't look good. But if I look carefully, I actually see a little thing right here that I don't see anywhere else with the T. See, so that's where that looking carefully comes into play. Maybe that's relevant. None of the other ones have that. So what if we start with that T? So now we started with the O, so we're going to put the T front. And ta-da, we get the word Toyota. That sounds like a car, right? And now we have solved the puzzle, because that is the getaway car. So puzzle done. We can enter our word and we'll get a nice little green and says that we showed the puzzle. That's how it was, how it's solved. The second puzzle is a more complicated puzzle. This puzzle has some hints, but they're much harder to find, and the puzzle itself is also pretty tricky. I will show you enough to put you on the right track, but then leave the actual solution up for you, given the hints that I give in this presentation, but also the hints in the puzzle itself. Let's take a look at another puzzle. Sudoku, no. Yeah, by me, it's a 4-star, so definitely there's some trickery involved here. And yeah, not a puzzle, so we have to solve it from home. There's a little bit of text, and then there is 2 Sudokus that are listed here. And there is some weird formula here. This formula is actually very solvable. If you look at the information, it basically gives a letter and a number. So H5 is actually 3, N9 is 5, 3 plus 5 is 8, so you can actually just go on G8. Well, what immediately is noticed, these are actually almost all numbers that are already there, and actually that you can solve. And that's a little bit of the trick here, that this formula actually won't help you much. Even if it looks very good, it will just give you a snarky little message if you try to solve it. Even without solving the Sudoku, you can solve quite a bit of this. The trick with this Sudoku is actually that they're not solvable. The bottom one, for example, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, that's not enough numbers to solve Sudoku with. So something is off here, that it's not completely solvable what we do. So let's start looking at hints. So we'll take the text and let's see if we found something. Put it in the highlighter first. 1 and ends. That doesn't sound very promising. Might be something else in here that is important. Certainly the tool didn't give us anything. Also the analyzer, let's put it in there as well. Let's see what it does. Analyze 3 lines, that doesn't look good. Split it, analyze again. That doesn't give me really anything with first or last words. The other thing to look at for is here if the CO has said anything. So you can of course logs. Let's see if there's anything in there by the CO. Write notes. Down. Congratulations. Doesn't look like there is a hint in here. It was just a hint to give the first find. Compliments. Okay, so back to the cache page. We have to also look at the source. It's always a good idea. So let's do that as well. And looking at the source. Oops, what do we see here? Font color white. That is something that is important. This means there's a little piece of text here that is actually key to that we couldn't see before, right on the standard page. So it's right underneath the find the cache and the formula, there is actually a second formula here. So if I highlight this, you see indeed the second formula shows up. So this is actually useful information. If we count the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, that looks like the actual cache coordinates. So if you didn't find that, you would just end up stuck with solving this puzzle and be nowhere. But thankfully, we were keen enough to look at this and find what we need. The hint doesn't give us any useful, so now we're kind of stuck, right? And why are we stuck? And well, let me show you that with two tools. I put the two Sudokus in the checker, and the second one immediately already gives me um, an answer. Only 14 entered. We need at least 16. So if we click the check button, it will give us an error message. That's not good. The second one, if I click the check button, will actually crash the website because, well, something nasty is happening in here that basically makes the website not solvable. And if you press the solve button, it solves it wrong. And this is a very nasty combination. I'll honestly say done on purpose to make this to go against that you can solve it with this website. And if you use another one, so I put the coordinates another solver, and here I do a solution count. You can see why. There's actually not a unique solution. There's every 17 solutions to the same one. So the other one picks most likely the first one. That is, however, not the correct one. It's one of the other 17 that you need. And of course, if you then try to solve it, you will not get the right coordinates. You will get wrong coordinates. You will get believable coordinates, but not something that the Geochecker, which is here, get you green on. Technically, there's now two ways to solve this puzzle. You can try all 17 combinations of one. However, the next one doesn't even have enough combinations and will have thousands of combinations. So now you're kind of stuck again. Again, two ways of solving it. With the 2-mile radius, you might be able to derive a little bit more since these are all pretty straightforward. Plus, but you end up in a pretty complicated mess of having these unsolved Sudokus that you cannot really solve and you don't have enough information for. And even with the 2-mile radius, you might be able to narrow it down to a pretty good location that at least looks like a decent location. But again, it is be careful here. If you just press solve, you get the wrong one. It sends you to the wrong part of town. Still within the 2-mile radius, but in the wrong part of town. Okay, so we need to find something else to solve this puzzle, right? It can't be clearly just be guessing. Well, there's all these nasty characters. That is all part of the 4-mile rating. That is the so-called obfuscation of the page, where it just tries to trick you into thinking that is useful. It's actually not useful. There is actually a tiny little hint here on the page, and it's truly tiny because you have to look through the text. Recently, I was driving with my daughter to a birthday party with one of her twin friends. My daughter was doing Sudoku, but clearly struggling. When she arrived, she showed me the puzzle. I looked at it for a while, and wow, that is a great idea for a puzzle. Yeah, there's a hint in there somewhere, but what is it, right? And that's kind of the trick. If you know a little bit about Sudokus, there's actually something called a twin Sudoku out there. It's one of the ways to solve it. But there is something more nasty going on because we actually have two here. And so two and twin. If you counter to that, you can actually look up something called twin Sudoku. And twin Sudoku, and that's kind of where I stop it, is a Sudoku where two puzzles are kind of like the equivalent to each other, but only are twins in that the numbers are substituted. Meaning that every time a 5 is used here, 4 is used here. Every time an 8 is used here, a 2 is used here, and the other way around. So now you have a lot more information, because now if I know what the 1 maps to, I know what it should be here. I can just use the same mapping. And now, by the combination of puzzles, I can solve it as one. Every time I find a number in 1, and I know the mapping in the number 2, how they map, I can solve both at the same time. And so even though a single one doesn't give you enough information, combined will give you enough information. And that's how you solve this cache. Okay, that was some of the puzzles. So now the overview of some of the hints. Here are some of the tools that I used in this presentation. So the three generic websites: Cache Sleuth, Geocaching Toolbox, and Decode website. The Sudoku solver, just one of the many ones out there. I showed you two. This is one that I most commonly use. And then the two tools that I used to highlight the hints and to analyze the text. If you enjoyed this presentation, please press the like button so others can find this as well. If you want to stay up to date on future episodes, please subscribe. That way you will get notified when new episodes become available. There's several more that are planned, not only in this series, but also outside this series. There's several already more in the works. If you have questions, feedback, comments, feel free to make a note. You can also contact me on WaterFan5 on the geocaching.com website. Any questions, suggestions you may have, recommendations, maybe you want me to talk about one of your puzzles. More than happy to do an episode about that. You can also email me at geocacher.waterfan5@gmail.com. Thank you very much, and hopefully this will stop you from panicking when seeing a mystery cache.